So once again, there's only a handful of people who don't want world peace, and they're the people who are now they've taken over the wars. They're great at terrorist attacks. They use what Army intelligence and British intelligence. They use those tactics, and what funds them is the Tea Party. If you make a donation to the Tea Party, you're making a donation to ISIS. And also the news. Now that there's 24-hour news, they want war, so they have something to discuss. And ISIS, I named the group ISIL, and Bill O'Reilly changed it to ISIS. And he said, we'll see who's more powerful. And I said, well, you are on TV 24 hours a day. You're more powerful. I'm just a housewife. I never knew I was anybody. I mean, my memory got erased almost daily. I could remember my 9-to-5 job and my house, my little dark house in New Jersey, and my family. But that was it. I couldn't remember any time I wrote a song or was in a movie or directed a movie. My memory got erased. And if it was a big deal like Lord of the Rings, then my memory, I would get tortured to death and woken back up, and tortured to death and woken back up until I couldn't remember my own name, and then they would stop. So I could, and again, like, you know, I would take on projects like that. They would let me take on projects like that, and I would take it seriously. You know, Lord of the Rings has a really strong message of good and evil, and people responded to it, and it was my direction that did that. The guy who had been hired to direct it had 3 years to do it, and after 2.5 years he did not have one frame. So the actors were there for 2.5 years, and they were ready to go home, you know, and they hadn't seen their families. They missed their own bed. When I said to Peter, the director, why were they there all that time, he said, well, what are they complaining about? They're getting room and board. And I said, well, they miss their families. They miss their homes. And he said, oh. Like, he really had no concept of thinking of other people's feelings. He even, he was not the right choice. And so it was kind of good that he was not able to direct, and I was brought in because he really didn't even understand what the movie was about, the movies were about. So that's my thing, is world peace, and that's why there's always going to be a price on my head, and there's always going to be people who want to kill me for it, because there's money in war for them. You know, there's money in war for the news channels, and there's money in war for people who make the weapons. They really don't care about the soldiers. The fact that people actually die, that doesn't bother them. The reason why the wars keep happening in the Middle East is because it's easy to keep that place stirred up, and because they're not completely white. I think they're very white. I mean, they're as white as I am. I'm, relatively dark, but In fact, there's a picture of me that was on the cover of National Geographic, and I was the Afghan girl. And I think all they did was they put a little bit of darker makeup on me, and they put a little bit of dirt on my face, and that was it. Otherwise, that's how dark they are. They're not all that dark. So this idea that you have to kill everybody who's not white is completely insane. So wish me luck. I'm going to keep working on this. And I have a feeling, well, I know I win. I know I'm going to win. Whether I get to see it or not, will be up to the good people of the earth. And don't let the evil people win. And we'll have it. We'll have world peace. It's not that hard. I can tell you how, okay, another thing that I did. I've negotiated peace accords, but somebody who worships the devil will always break it. So, but I did negotiate a lasting peace in Northern Ireland when I was very young. And that was, and the way we did it was, I said, if somebody has a terror attack, you call the other person up and you check that it was them. And I said, be man enough to say, yes, that was us. But don't retaliate until you double check. That's who did it. They just were assuming that when there was a terror attack, that it was one of the Northern Ireland groups. But as it turned out, it was just people trying to keep things stirred up. And we found that out. I said something like, well, when you put a bomb in a baby carriage, when you're man enough to put a bomb in a baby carriage, you should be man enough to say, we're the ones who did it. And both sides said, that wasn't us. And that's when we knew something was up. Somebody was keeping things stirred up. And